If the association is being sued, if there are any pending lawsuits, or if the association has in the past been sued, had a judgment entered against it, and that judgment has not been paid yet, they have to disclose that to you. And then finally, they'll tell you in this certificate, they'll give you a list of the insurance coverages, who the insurance is maintained with, which insurance company, if it's nationwide or whoever carries the insurance on the unit. They'll give you the contact information for that insurance company, because somewhere in the process, the purchaser is going to want a certificate of insurance from that insurance company to verify that there's insurance coverage in place. You must also provide a potential purchaser with a copy of several documents. You have to give them a copy of the bylaws for the association. Again, the association is kind of like a corporation. It's governed by a board of directors, and there are officers of that corporation. And how those parties operate or relate to one another is set forth in the bylaws of the association. The bylaws are recorded in the courthouse, so you can obtain those copies yourself, or the association will provide it to you as part of the resale certificate. If there are any rules and regulations, architectural guidelines, anything like that that's going to be recorded in the courthouse in the condominium instruments, you have to provide a copy of those. The association should provide you with a copy of its current budget that it's operating under. Each year, associations will adopt a budget for the coming year for the different expenses that they'll have, showing what the expected income is from regular assessments, and provide you with a copy of that. They'll provide you with a balance sheet that shows you how much cash they have on hand in the regular account, or any reserve account they have set up to cover future replacements of roofs or parking areas. They'll give you a copy of that balance sheet. If the association has performed a study to determine what the life expectancy of the roof is and the anticipated cost to replace it 10 years from now, and how they are collecting assessments to cover that, they have to provide you with a copy of that study that they've had done to show the replacement of items such as that. The resale certificate will also confirm to you whether or not the association has a right of first refusal to repurchase the property. This is not something that's common in our area. In more urban areas, for beach condominiums, for example, the association will often have a right of first refusal to purchase the unit if a unit owner wants to sell it. That's information you're going to want to know sooner rather than later, and it will be set forth in the condominium instruments that are recorded in the courthouse. I would get copies of those documents at the time that you list the property and have it in your file. The bylaws, the declaration of condominium, whatever you find recorded and that's referenced in the deed to the property is how you would find where those are recorded. It'll have the instrument number, the deed book number that it's recorded in, and glance through those. And you want to make sure that there's not a right of first refusal, because the last thing you want to do is spend time and effort and money advertising property to get a purchaser only to find out that the association has a purchase option. Again, in our area, that's not something that's common. But the resale certificate will give you a statement at the time that you obtain it and advise you whether there is a right of first refusal to purchase the unit. They'll also give you a statement as to whether the association considers the unit that you're selling to be in violation of any of the guidelines of the association, any of the rules. Have they done something within the unit that violates the architectural guidelines? If there are any problems like that, those would be set forth in the resale certificate. The resale certificate will tell you whether the condominium development itself is located in a development that is subject to the Property Owners Association Act. Now, the Property Owners Association Act covers subdivisions that collect assessments. For example, here in Washington County, the Winterham subdivision has a owners association, and it's not very active. They don't have regular meetings and things like that, but they have the legal right under their documents to collect assessments for certain items. So that subdivision is subject to the Virginia Property Owners Association Act. If there was a condominium development located on lots in that subdivision, then the statement would tell you that, yeah, these lots also are subject to paying an assessment to the actual subdivision owners association. Again, in our area, that's not something you're going to see very often. They'll give you a statement in the resale certificate to tell you whether there is a limitation on the number of persons that may live in a unit. Again, in our area, that's not something that's going to be common. In other areas, that you may have elderly housing for people ages 55 and older, and there may be limits in the documents for those condominiums on the number of people that can live in a unit. The resale certificate will tell you if there are any such limitations. And finally, the resale certificate will tell you whether there are any limitations on a unit owner's ability to display the American flag. It must be something in another part of the state where this arose, because I can't imagine that being an issue in our part of the state. But the resale certificate must tell you if there are any restrictions on the size of flag, where it can be displayed, that sort of thing. And finally, the resale certificate will give you a certification that the Condominium Association has filed its annual report with the Virginia Common Interest Community Board. That's the arm of the Virginia Real Estate Board that governs condominium associations. Again, it's called the Common Interest Community Board, and every condominium association has to file an annual report with that board, and that's something that you can get on the internet from the Real Estate Board's website to determine if that has been filed and if their filing is current. The bigger problem in our area is not going to be requesting this information. The bigger problem in our area with condominium associations is going to be the condominium association looking at you with glazed eyes saying, we don't know what you're talking about. There are very few associations in our area of condominiums that are going to have this information readily available to you. So when you start requesting this, and it's already happened in our area, then these associations are going to be calling their attorney saying, what do we do? So they'll get the information together for you, but don't be surprised if the first few times that you ask for it, they don't know what you're talking about. If the information is not available, if you have an uncooperative association, the only thing you can do is advise your purchaser that what you know, that you've requested the information, that they're supposed to provide it, but that they say it's not available, that the association is not active, they don't really do anything, there's no assessments, nobody's paying any bills. You disclose that to your purchaser. It gives the purchaser the right to get out of the contract if they're not comfortable with it. The purchaser also has the right to go right ahead with the deal and say they're comfortable with it. They talk to Miss Joe, who's located in the next unit, and she says there's no problems, and they can go ahead and go with the deal. From the realtor's standpoint, you just want to disclose to the purchaser all the information that you have, let them know that there is a legal obligation to comply with this and that they can move forward, but they do so at their own risk. And you make a note in your file that you've provided that disclosure to the purchaser so that they can't come back later and claim that you didn't tell them about it. I will post on the association's website a list of all of these items that the resale certificate should include, and we'll also post a sample resale certificate from a condominium association that's outside of your area that's used to doing this, and that will provide you with some guidance as well. If you have questions along the way, then as always, feel free to give me a call. I'll be happy to answer your questions. And once we start doing this on a regular basis, it will become easier to deal with, as both the associations become familiar with the process of you requesting it, and you'll often have a lot of these things already in your file from other deals that you've done as well. But again, if you have any questions, let us know. We thank you for working with the association.